Can you say President Boehner? Don't laugh. If Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio has his way, there will soon be an arrest made of a person of interest who created a fraudulent birth certificate and Selective Service card bearing the name of Barack Obama. Responding to the results of Sheriff Joe's cold case posse investigation that were released on March 1, 2012, is political and economic analyst Steve Beaman, a number-crunching genius who sold one of his companies to Charles Schwab for millions of dollars. But bluntly, Analyst Beaman says we are looking at the possibility of nothing short of the biggest scandal in the history of the United States of America. According to Steve, if it is determined that Barack Obama was not an eligible candidate for president, that determination would not only nullify Obama, but Biden also, and making House Speaker John Boehner the acting president of the United States until a new president is selected in November. But wait, there's more, Beaman says. Not only would Obama be gone, but every administrative and military action he took would be nullified. The far-reaching impact of such an undertaking is staggering, according to Beaman, and nearly beyond our imagination. An investigative cold case posse begun in 2011 by America's toughest sheriff, Joe Arpaio of Arizona's Maricopa County, concluded during a March 1, 2012 news conference that there is probable cause that the document released by the White House last year as President Obama's birth certificate is a computer-generated forgery. Investigators explained that the register stamp and date stamp in government documents are safety features to verify the authenticity of their documents. But the fact is that those stamps on the document purported by Obama as being genuine were actually imported from outside sources, showing with certainty that the document was fraudulent. Furthermore, its safety verification stamps were completely movable to any point of the document. No original birth certificate circa the date of Obama's birth could possibly have had such movable computerized elements, so the purported birth certificate was an assembly of words, stamps, and seals rather than a cohesive single document consistent with technology of the 1960s. The posse says it has identified at least one person of interest in the alleged forgery of Obama's birth certificate. Arpaio, known for his strict enforcement of immigration laws, commissioned the investigative team after local citizens presented him with a petition expressing concerns that Obama might not be eligible for Arizona's presidential ballot. The posse, comprised of former law enforcement officers and lawyers with law enforcement experience, has interviewed dozens of witnesses and examined hundreds of documents. It also has taken numerous sworn statements from witnesses around the world. Mike Zullo, Arpaio's lead investigator, said his team believes the Hawaii Department of Health has engaged in a systematic effort to hide from public inspection any original 1961 birth records it may have in its possession. Zullo said, quote, "Officers of the Hawaii Department of Health and various elected Hawaiian public officials may have intentionally obscured 1961 birth records and procedures to avoid having to release to public inspection and to the examination of court-authorized forensic examiners any original Obama 1961 birth records the Hawaii Department of Health may or may not have." The investigators say the evidence contained in the computer-generated PDF file released by the White House, as well as important deficiencies in the Hawaii process of certifying the long-form birth certificate, establish probable cause that a forgery has been committed. The investigation was launched after 250 members of the Surprise Arizona Tea Party presented a signed petition to Arpaio in August 2011 asking him to undertake the investigation. The Tea Party members petitioned under the premise that if a forged birth certificate was used to place Barack Obama on the 2012 Arizona presidential ballot, their rights as Maricopa County voters could be compromised. The Cold Case Posse advised Arpaio that they believe forgers committed 2 crimes. First, they said, it appears the White House fraudulently created a forgery that it characterized as an officially produced governmental birth record. Second, the White House fraudulently presented to the residents of Maricopa County and to the American public at large a forgery represented as, quote, proof positive of President Obama's authentic 1961 Hawaii long-form birth certificate. In addition, investigators say they have developed credible evidence that President Obama's Selective Service card was also a forgery, based on an examination of the postal date stamp on the document. Also, records of Immigration and Naturalization Service cards filled out by passengers arriving on international flights originating outside the United States in the month of August 1961, examined at the National Archives in Washington, D.C., are missing records for the week of President Obama's purported birth. At the end of Sheriff Arpaio's presentation of the findings of his cold case posse, members of the mainstream news media went ballistic, clearly showing they had no interest in the truth of the matter, but only being interested in blindly defending Obama and demonizing the investigators. This video was based on a WND.com news story. The entire story and the associated video presentations of the evidence may be found at WND.com.